Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Right now, I'm here with the licensing update for December 2021. I want to cover all the changes in the product terms and the online services terms. And I've already put on screen, I will blow it up a bit, the changes for this month. So I want to start by going through the November 15 change that Microsoft released in the middle of the month. That's around the Windows desktop operating system. Apparently, they made some changes to the product terms and the online services terms that they should not have. They updated the availability to correct Windows desktop operating systems upgrade licenses in the Open Value program. So Windows 11 won't become available in the Open License program. They did mention that as of last month, as you can see here. They removed the Windows 11 references and changed it to the Windows 10 version. And they did that, obviously, as I said, because they don't want to make that available in an ending program. Additional change, they updated an MCA activation use rights clause to clarify that Windows 10 users may continue to run Windows 10 after acquiring a Windows 11 E3 license. So even if you're buying Windows 11 through MCA, meaning you most likely are buying it through a CSP partner, then you still have the availability to use a lower version of that Windows desktop operating system. And they added some products, audio services, first and foremost, Operator Connect conferencing. This is a license which allows you to connect your own operator to the Microsoft Teams environment. So if you want to use phone system or any conferencing tooling that there is, you can use your currently existing provider to connect. And they have a set list of providers that are available, for instance, the T-Mobile or some larger American operators. So if you're using that and you want to bring your functionality into Teams, this Operator Connect conferencing license allows you to do that. So you need to buy this license if you want to connect your own operator to your Teams environment. Second change, Microsoft 365. They added specific terms for the Microsoft 365 Professional Direct Support offering. This is a new support offering. As you can see, they have added it to the availability list, Microsoft 365 Professional Support. And if you scroll down, you will see some additional changes to this page. I'm going to go to the Professional Direct Support offering first. You must acquire enough professional direct support licenses to cover each license on its agreement or enrollment the customer wants support for, up to a maximum of 500 licenses. So this is an additional support offering within the Microsoft 365 program, which you can directly procure in your tenant, and you will get additional support. They made some additional changes not listed. Opposed to last month, they created a topic for Microsoft Viva. So it used to hold only a clause for Microsoft Viva Insights. They added Viva Learning and Glint. They did this because they needed additional clarification. For Viva Learning, as Microsoft Learn, Microsoft 365 training, and the free LinkedIn Learning content made available through Viva Learning is subject to terms other than the product terms. Additional content may be available from other third-party content providers. Accessing this third-party content may require a customer to have a separate relationship with the third-party content provider. This third-party content and any associated services are subject to the third-party's content provider's privacy and service terms and not to the product terms. So if you're using Viva Learning or are interested in using this, you can use the standard Microsoft material that they will make available through Viva Learning. That has their own T's and C's associated to it. Additionally to that, you can add any and all third-party content to the learning environment, but that is always subject to that third party's clauses and not the Microsoft product terms. Makes sense. Then Glint. If you buy Microsoft Viva with a Glint add-on, licensed users may access the Glint People Success Package. It's provided by LinkedIn Corporation and is a non-Microsoft product as defined in these product terms. So this is LinkedIn is a part of Microsoft, but LinkedIn isn't fully integrated into the Microsoft product terms yet. As such, you still can't buy LinkedIn licenses through, for instance, your EA or any other Microsoft volume licensing program. The same with Glint. Customers' use of Glint PSP is not subject to these product terms or the DPA. Rather, customers' use of Glint PSP is subject to the LinkedIn order terms at link here and the LinkedIn data processing agreement at the same or a different link. For purpose of customers' use of the Glint PSP, LinkedIn Corporation as data processor and customer as a data controller will comply with the terms of the LinkedIn DPA. So Glint is available in combination with Viva licenses. So you can buy a Viva Suite license, for instance, with Glint associated with it. But that Glint license, even though you're buying it through your enterprise agreement, will not be covered by these product terms and as such not covered by the DPA that is associated to it, but it will rather have its own DPA through the LinkedIn terms and conditions. Now that's for the changes in Microsoft 365. And then on to Microsoft 365 Dynamics services. Many changes here, some removals and some new additions to the product tables. We want to get at is further down below. Edge skill unit add-in has been added to the licensing prerequisites table, and they have updated the purchasing minimums table to add professional direct support. Additionally, if you scroll down, there's under PSTN services, customer responsibility. If you're using Azure communication services as a developer product, you are only liable for the application or offerings that incorporate Azure communication services, capabilities, and services. So this means you can start using Azure communication services through Dynamics 365, for instance, but you need to make sure that you are aware of the customer responsibility that you have. And through the communication services, you also have Microsoft Teams interoperability, more on that in a bit as well. But the interoperability between Azure Communication Services and Microsoft Teams enables your applications and users to participate in Teams calls, meetings, and chat. So it is your responsibility to ensure that the users of your application are notified when recording or transcriptions are enabled in a Teams call or meeting. So when you start recording things through the Azure Communication Services, you need to make sure that the end users are aware that you are doing this. Microsoft will indicate to you via the Communication Services API that recording or transcription has commenced, and you must communicate this fact. So that for Microsoft 365 Dynamics. Within Azure, the same clause has been added. So again, if you look down below on the Azure page, which it's becoming increasingly large, you say the same two clauses. So if you're using Azure Communication Services, you customers are solely liable for their applications and offerings. So not Microsoft, but you are. You need to make sure that when you are using this and you start recording or transcribing anything, that you will communicate this to the end user, and Microsoft will notify you if you're using this API. No other changes here. The only thing that was worth mentioning is that they changed reservations from a definition, so with a capital R, to a lowercase r, meaning that reservation in itself is no longer a definition. Azure reservations as a string is still a definition from Microsoft. Onto Power Platform. They have added new purchasing minimums or updated the table to state that these minimums must be maintained through the term of the customer's agreement or enrollment. So you can't scale down. For instance, if you buy this in an EA, same with Dynamics that I just showed you. If you buy this in an EA, for instance, you can't, after 1 year, scale down the amount of licenses that you need to maintain at the bare minimum. So if you're buying the Power Apps plan with a 2,000 seat minimum, your minimum quantity obviously is 2,000. that means that you have to keep this 2000 license quantity throughout the entire term. So if you arrive at your second anniversary, for instance, for your enterprise agreement contract, you can't scale this down to 1,000. You need to maintain the 2,000 minimum. Microsoft Teams, the added Microsoft Teams Essentials offers to the availability side. I did a quick Google search. I couldn't find what Microsoft Teams Essentials is. If you have already seen what this offering is and what it does, I'd be happy to hear from you. So do drop a note in the comments. And then finally, the privacy and security terms. If we look at this in the on the page itself, you see that they did a couple of changes. So they removed Compliance Manager from the Office 365 service, and they created a table where they added the Microsoft 365 compliance services to the list of core services. So this is now its own category. Microsoft has created its own standalone category for the compliance services that are available in Microsoft 365. Why? That's because there might be differentiation towards the future on how they can handle compliance versus how they can handle other Office 365 services. And here you see as well that they have added an extra table showing the compliancy status for the different SOC types that are there. And finally, for Office 365 services, they've added Brazil, Norway, and Sweden to the list of customer data at rest table. And that's it for the product terms and online services terms for this month. There was one additional announcement. Power Apps introduces pay-as-you-go pricing. This was one of the bigger highlights, I think, in the past Ignite session. As you look towards Microsoft licensing, starting November 2nd, pay-as-you-go pricing is available for Power Apps. You will now have the option to purchase Power Apps per app plan with an Azure subscription, in addition to the existing Power Apps per user and per app plan subscription plans. The pay-as-you-go plan introduces flexibility for customers to pay for Power Apps based on actual usage, covering authenticated users of internal apps and portals. Priced at $10 per user per month, charges are incurred against a Microsoft Azure subscription based on the number of unique apps or portals a user runs each month. So, for an example, if you're an organization, you may benefit from the flexibility of pay-as-you-go to establish usage patterns for a new app or solution before transitioning to subscription licenses. It includes access to the Microsoft Dataverse capacity, premium connectors, and other components necessary to run a premium application on the platform. And these capabilities and entitlements are applied to each environment where pay-as-you-go billing is enabled. So you can now, within your Azure subscription, use Power Apps. You'll be charged on a consumption basis, meaning that you don't have to pay for licenses upfront. You have to decide if that makes sense for your organization. If not, just buy the user plan or the per app plan that's still available and can be used in conjunction with Azure services as well. That was it for now. I think a lot of updates to the product terms and the online services terms. Do hope you value this content. Do follow us online. Do subscribe to our newsletter, which will cover a lot of this content as well. And as always, I thank you for watching. Have a good day.